What is up, my dudes, and that one girl who's here to see the cat fight? I got you, one girl. This is Bikes, Beards, and Brews. Let's kick that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we kick this one off, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. New videos are coming weekly. You ring that bell, you know when they drop. Let's get the other stuff out of the way. Want to save 10% on a Cardo communicator or save some money on some Beyond Riders gear or on some Hogworks gear? Then you should definitely check my referral links down below. Want to support me and all my do-gooderness like these cool guys here? Boom! Then you should become part of the Brew Crew and join the coffee page down below. Want to know why I'm asking you for money? Well, next to those 10,000 Amazon affiliate links that also go to a good cause is a link explaining what I do with your money. Get it, got it, cool, let's move on. All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about Indian motorcycles and why I feel like they just got really ugly and it's not a good look for them whatsoever. Now, before we get to all that, I do want to preempt this video with a couple different things because I know there are just a bunch of people that are going to run straight to the comments and just type all kinds of stuff that is not true and frankly just plain stupid. And that is, I have no actual issue with Indian motorcycles. I want Indian motorcycles to succeed. I firmly believe that competition breeds innovation and it forces other companies to do a better job. In this case, we're talking Harley-Davidson. And yes, I firmly believe that when Polaris brought back Indian motorcycles and did all the stuff with them and really found their groove, that's what really forced Harley to start updating the way they did stuff, and they really started moving their bikes forward. Before that, I feel like they were kind of hanging in a bit of a lull because they didn't have any sort of real competition going on. I also really like a lot of the different bikes that Indian puts out. I've said it a million times. I like the Scout Bobber looks-wise much better than I like the new Nightster and the new Sportster S. I think it just has a better look to it. I think the Challenger is a great bike. I have test rode them. I almost bought one years back. And yes, of course, I've poked fun at Indian and I've given them crap. But if you go back and you look at my whole body of work when it comes to videos, I have dragged Harley probably 10 videos to 1 when you're comparing what I've said about Harley versus what I've said about Indian. So settle yourselves down over there. And if you really need that nice warm feeling of, well, what about Harley? Go look at the 10-to-1 videos where I do drag Harley and I do call out Harley and I do make fun of Harley because there are plenty of them. So now let's move forward. All right, so to catch you guys up just a little bit, for some of you who may be behind, last time Indian was brought back to life, it was with Polaris. They purchased the name and they brought the whole line back. They started building them up. And then when they actually turned a profit, Polaris sold them. And now they're owned by the private equity firm Carolwood LP. How that is going to affect Indian going forward, we shall see. But with this video in mind, right now, not so good. So when Carolwood LP took over, they hired a guy named Mike Kennedy as CEO. Mike Kennedy used to work for Harley-Davidson and he used to work for Vance and Hines. So the guy's been around for a little bit and he knows what's going on. Now for the release slate of 2026, Indian stayed fairly quiet. They did one throwback bike and then they did a 125th anniversary special edition of a bunch of their bikes that were basically getting a nice paint job. Which honestly, it is a nice paint job. I really dig it. And they were limited, numbered, plated, and all that stuff. Depending on the bike, you would get like one of 250, one of 450. They had mixed numbers. Personally, I feel like they should have did one of 250 to celebrate the whole 250th anniversary of the US on all of the bikes, or one of 125 to play into the 125th anniversary. That's just me. I'm not the guy making the decisions over there. They did what they wanted. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And in fairness, I didn't expect too much in 2026 because they were going through that transition of being owned by Polaris and then being transferred over to Carolwood LP, while also changing some of the internals like the new CEO and a little bit of shakeup and all that fun stuff. So totally fine there. I am not bagging on them whatsoever for what they did for this year when it came to releases. It seemed like it was just going to be a quiet time for them. But then we get to the problem. Just recently, Indian had released a full-blown attack ad on Harley-Davidson. Now look, I go after Harley-Davidson, I go after Indian, I go after all the different brands. There's a ton of other moto vloggers and reviewers and all that go after the different brands. It's kind of expected, but it seems like most brands don't directly attack each other in the motorcycle community. So this was kind of a shock to begin with, but whatever, if that's what they feel like they need to do, then I guess. The big issue I saw here was this ad felt very much like a political attack ad. Like, you know, every 4 years or so when we start getting into the elections and you just start seeing these like insane ads where you're just fed up and you don't want to see them anymore. That is literally what Indian is using to go after Harley-Davidson. And it's not just that it feels like political attack ads. They actually went out and hired a firm that specializes in political attack ads. That is grimy. Like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I am just tired of all the attack ads, not just in motorcycles, but in general. When I'm watching something on the web or, you know, I turn on the TV and I got all these annoying commercials that are like, Joe Bob is a piece of crap. Joe Bob did this. You gotta stay away from Joe Bob. Go vote for Mike Smith instead. I'm sick of these. I am absolutely sick of these. So to have this completely bleed over into the motorcycle community is just garbage. It's just trash. And honestly, Indian, maybe not the best year for you to do this, being that you didn't offer anything this year worth celebrating. You got sold again. Like, let's be honest. Indian has been in business out of that 125 years for maybe about 60 of them. A lot of times that name has just been bought and passed around like a cheap hooker over and over again. And a lot of times it has just been rebranded, rebadged. It has been foreign bikes rebadged. It has been mopeds with Indian badging on it. It has just sat in a dumpster somewhere waiting for somebody to come along and buy it out of bankruptcy. So, you know, celebrating 125 seems a bit of a stretch, but then when you start attacking your competition and doing it in such a grimy way, it does not make it look any better on your part. And after that attack ad came out, if you go and you look at the stock prices of Harley, they have been going up since. So you kind of had the opposite effect there. And now I know a bunch of trolls will just hit the comments and go, well, Indian's growing, Indian's so great, Indian's better than Harley, Indian's this and that. You know what? All of that is subjective. I have done a ton of videos where I have compared Harley to Indian, and I have gone by the Harley spec sheet versus the Indian spec sheet. So this isn't even me saying, oh, well, I think Harley is doing this better. I think Indian's doing this better. It's like, no. Harley is showing that they have more horsepower. Harley is showing that they have more this. So no, Indian is not blowing the wheels off of Harley. And I know one of the other great arguments is, oh, Harleys are so overpriced. Put a Harley next to an Indian. Those prices are comparable. And actually in some of those comparison videos I found, Harley is either cheaper or the same price. So that is not helping your argument either. If you actually stop raging on the internet and actually do a little bit of basic research, or just go watch those videos, I did the research for you, you will see it for yourself. But I know that's not what you want. You just want to be in your little echo chamber where you shout about how horrible Harley is and have a bunch of other people pipe in and say, Harley sucks. And honestly, I don't care. Again, subjective. Just like I mentioned in the beginning with my opinions towards stuff, being subjective. I will say, factually speaking though, you go to different rallies throughout the country, yes, you're going to see some more Indians out there, but you are not going to see Indians represented at the same volume as you see Harleys represented. I was just up at Laconia and Indians were around, but they were scattered and few and far between. Now, I know some of the other arguments there might be, well, you know, people are holding on to their Harleys longer, so on and so forth. No, I saw so many of the new Road Glide and Street Glide fairings on that road that have only been out for 2 years. So those bikes are getting embraced, those bikes are getting purchased, and those bikes are getting ridden. It is out there. You don't have to believe me. Just go to different rallies, go to different places where bikes meet up, and check out who's in that parking lot, who's riding, who is on that group ride, who is at that rally. You're gonna see it for yourself. And then if you need more basic facts, I've done it in previous videos where I've talked about the Indian Challenger Elite, which again, I think is a great looking bike. It has great features and it comes in at a great price point. However, when I went online and I started looking up Indian Elite Challenger from a year ago to see what was for sale and what I could buy, I was finding brand new Indian Challenger Elites that had been sitting on the sales floor for a year, still for sale at their MSRP. So there was no reason why this should have been sitting there, especially being that the Elites are generally limited to about 200 or 250 units. That is not a lot of bikes. When you look at it, the Elites are the answer to Harley's CVO lineup. Harley sells 250 CVOs in a week, and you're telling me Indian can't sell 250 in a year. That is not a good look for Indian. And even right now, as I record this video, the new 125th anniversary bikes have been out for about 4 months. And I popped on over to the internet and I decided to check out a few things. And well, I looked at the Indian Scout Bobber 125th anniversary, which 450 were made. And real quick search, one website I went to, there was the better part of 50 brand new, sitting on the floor, MSRP, ready to be sold. So these things are just dying on the floor, and these are supposed to be the crown jewel of what Indian is selling this year. Not a Scout Bobber fan? No problem. I also looked at the Indian Challenger, which is considered one of the better bikes that Indian has going on right now. The Indian Challenger 125th Anniversary Edition is limited to 250 pieces. Same website, same quick search, better part of 50 units sitting brand new on the floor, MSRP, still unsold. That is not a good look. And let's be honest, if you start plugging around, you're going to find more of these for sale somewhere else. But even if we just use this one site as our holy grail that is giving us the absolute number, that means that only about 200 of these have been sold and are out there in the wild right now. That's pretty depressing. This should have been something that was sold out almost instantly. So no, Indian is not burning up the sales charts. Indian is not like flooding the market with motorcycles. People are not lining up to buy these things. So coming out and doing these ugly, grimy attack ads is not helping your case, Indian. Now, I'm sure one of the other questions may be, well, why hasn't Harley responded to this ad? Well, it's pretty obvious. Indian is like a guy showing up with nothing but rollerblades trying to get into a fight with a tank. Of course, the tank doesn't give a crap about him and it isn't going to respond to him. So he's just going to sit there and run around and tire himself out. Maybe sooner or later the tank will run him over, who knows. But there is no reason to respond to it. Now look, this last part, it's for you, Indian. Seriously, grab a seat, come a little closer. Come on, come on. We need to talk. If you really want to go after Harley, if you really want to take a bite out of their sales, if you really want to start climbing that mountain and become king of the hill, you need to start upping your game. Your Challenger has not been updated since you released it. And don't give me the crap about the, oh, we did the 112 engine in the Challenger. Yeah, congratulations. You added 4 horsepower and 4 foot-pound of torque. Not really impressive, but you sure as hell like rallied around that. Kind of sad. You need to update your TFT screen. That thing is so long in the tooth, it's kind of embarrassing at this point. You need to do a refresh on your Challenger because that thing hasn't changed in years and it is getting tired looking. And you need to go back to the drawing board and refresh those liquid cooled engines. That whole thing where you just made them very smooth and kind of this boring looking blob in the middle of like your bike is horrible. Go back to the one you had before that, or move forward and give us something interesting. That is the most boring looking image that you've got, and it honestly hurts the bikes that it's in. Like even those Scouts, like I said, I love the Scout bobber. I think it has a great look, but that new engine just sucks. It looks like crap sitting there in the rest of that bike that looks so nice. Instead of running attack ads and trying to go after the other guy, maybe look inwards and up your game, because right now your game kind of sucks and the numbers don't lie. You're falling short. Why don't you fix that and then come see us? Because honestly, I'm interested to see you guys do better, and I really do want to see you do better. Right now, you're not doing better. Anyway, that's what I've got. What do you got? Have you seen this ad? Honestly, I'm not going to show you the ad because it's garbage and I'm not giving it any extra air than it's already taken up. You can find it very easily, I'm sure. But sound off in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, share this video with friends, share it with family, share it with that one dude you know who's like, oh, Indians taking over the motorcycle world. No, they're not. He hates this stuff, I promise. And I'll see you all on the flip side.